श्री निताई गौर सुंदर की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। We'll do the Mangalacharan prayers and then we'll start. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinobandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namosuste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Yam Prabrajantamanupetamapetakrityam Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakatarya Juhav Putreti Tanmayataya Tarvo Bhinedush Tam Sarvabhutridayam Munimanatosmi. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ajanulambit bhujau kanakavadhatau sankirtane kapitarau kamalayatakshau vishambharau dujvarau yugadharma palau vande jagat priyakaro karunavataro. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadat mahagati kutopi dhyayanstu vanstasya yashasti sandhyam vande guru shri charanarvindam. Jaya Roop Sanatan Bhatt Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatt Das Raghunath. Ichai Gosair Kori Charan Vandan Jaha Hite Vignanash Abhishta Puran. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I'm feeling very happy to be back in Crawley. So as I was traveling, so I recalled that I came to BYC for the first time in 2017 in April. So it's now more than 8 years. So the time flies. And at that time, there used to be like very few devotees. And now I see the house full. So it's very nice to see how nicely this community is flourishing and expanding. I'm sure Srila Prabhupada and the Guru Parampara would be so much happy with all the efforts that the devotees are making here. I'm also very grateful to Shyam Govinda Prabhu for giving me this opportunity to speak something about the Lord. So before I speak something, I would like to offer my obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnavas. And I request you to give me your blessings so that I can speak something bona fide and the right words can come out at the right time. So today's topic is very interesting. So continuing the mood of Damodar Lila. So I hope by the mercy of Shri Yashoda Damodar, you all had a very spiritually uplifting Damodar month, right? But now the Damodar month is over, so what's next? So it is like a general experience, and like happens with all of us, that during the festival days or like the auspicious days like Ekadashi, Janmashtami, or maybe Kartik month or Purushottam month, there is like another level of enthusiasm, motivation to engage in spiritual practices. But as soon as like those days are over, we are again back to our old habits. So today's topic is like continuing the mood of Damodar Lila. So one of the most important teachings that we get as a sadhaka, so we all are sadhakas, right? We are performing sadhana to attain the love of God, which is the goal of human life. So we are all doing sadhana, so we are sadhakas. So as a sadhaka, one of the most important teachings that we can get from Damodar Lila is the endeavor. So we all know like how like Mother Yashoda tried so hard, she endeavored so hard to tie Krishna, but Krishna could not be bound because Krishna has got multi-potencies. So one of his potency, his Aishwarya potency, was thinking that Krishna is Ananta, right? He is Bhagavan. How can someone who is Ananta can be bound? So that Aishwarya Shakti or the Aishwaryamai potency of Lord Krishna was not allowing him to be bound by Mother Yashoda. But Mother Yashoda was fully determined that today I have to bind Krishna, because if today she failed to do so, then Krishna will even become more naughty. So she was fully determined, and we could see in the Lila how much she endeavored. She woke up very early in the morning during the Brahma Muhurta time, and after taking bath and like wearing like fresh clothes, she started churning she started churning the butter. To prepare the butter, she started churning the yogurt to prepare the butter for Lord Krishna. So naturally she was very tired, and then when Krishna broke the pot, so she has to run behind Krishna, and we know from the Leela like how much hard like she has to run to, because Krishna is a small child, so he is very fast, but Mother Yashoda, like because of her gross body, like and her heavy hips, so it was a bit difficult for her to chase Krishna. But ultimately she get hold of Krishna. So she was already very tired, but she was very determined, and she did everything like got all the ropes, whatever the ropes were present in Braja, but still like Krishna could not be bound. So this is the main teaching as a sadhaka that we get, that we have to continue the endeavor in devotional service. So I will be speaking today in this context only, that how we can continue the endeavor, or how we can continue the bhakti at a constant pace in our day-to-day like life. So this is the teaching from the Leela, from Srimad Bhagavatam. But first let's try to understand why do we need to constantly endeavor, right? Before we go into how we go into like doing the constant endeavor, let's understand why constant endeavor is required. And I will try to explain this from the psychological aspect. So I think it's going to be very interesting and technical as well. So human psychology. So if we can understand like how this human psychology works, so we can understand the need of like endeavoring continuously on this path of bhakti, or maybe in any other path as well, on material platform also, why a continuous endeavor is required to be successful. So in the Sanskrit linguistics, the term is antakaran chatushtaya. So anta, so just like we say, no, I have a gut feeling, I have an internal feeling, right? So that internal part, so it is in Sanskrit linguistics, it is called as antakaran chatushtaya. So anta means internal, Karana means like that instrument, internal instrument, and Chatushtaya means four. So although this Antakaran is one, there is only one internal instrument, but because of its four different functions, it is like classified, or it has four different names. So the first name, actually, I wanted to draw it, but seems like that cable is not there. I think I should have informed Prabhu, but I will try to explain. So the first part of that Antakaran Chatushtaya is mind or manas, which is also called as the emotional mind. The second part, so its function is sankalp vikalp. So all the thoughts and the feelings that we have, that happens by the agency of the manas or the mind or the emotional mind. And in an average adult, the average age of mind is 7 years. So it's very childish. So it's like, as soon as there is a feeling, it will have an emotional response to that. So this is first part of that Antakaran Chatushtaya. The second part is buddhi or the intellect. So this part, from this part, we take decision, right? So all the moral values, like what is right and what is wrong, is contained in the buddhi, in the intellect, and it helps us to take decision, like what is right and what is wrong. So this is the second part. The third part is chitta. So chitta is like can consider it like an hard drive. So whatever we perceive with our gyanendriyas, so there are 5 gyanendriyas: eyes, ear, nose, tongue, and skin. So whatever we perceive through these senses, so it leaves an impression, and that impression or the samskara is stored in the chitta. So whatever, I'll explain this with an example as well. And then, so like whenever we perceive something, so immediately there will be an impression that will, or the samskara would come out. Let's say I saw something faint which is like curved in shape. So immediately that samskara would come from the chitta, my past like memories, so which would project that samskara on the clear screen of the mind. So mind is like, it's like a clear screen. So whatever the samskaras are there in the chitta, they get projected on the screen of the mind. So let's say I see a curved like kind of a string, right? So immediately there will be a samskara that will be projected onto the screen of manas, which will say, is it a rope or is it a snake? So this is the function of manas or the mind, emotional mind. So this is the thought process and the feeling as well. But then from the buddhi, the intellect, we get to know, no, it is actually, it's dark, but that thing is not moving, right? That must be a rope, right? And then the fourth part of this Antakaran Chatushtaya is ahankar or the ego, so which basically gives the agency to act, and from where we get this bhava of my and mine. So that ahankara, it basically illumines this complete sequence by saying, I saw the rope or the snake, or let's say I saw the rope and I am safe because it's not a snake. So this is how this Antakaran Chatushtaya works, like, So whatever we perceive through our Gyanendriyas, they get stored in our chitta. And whatever thoughts we all have experienced, right? The mind is always restless, right? There is always a stream of thoughts like going through the mind, like I should do this, can I do this, or can I not do this? So it works in the binary mode, like or dislike, rag or dvesha. So the thing that it likes, or like it has raga, it will accept it, and the thing which it dislikes, it will reject it. Right? So now, if we don't do endeavor, the constant endeavor in bhakti, that means we are engaged in material activities, which would result in all the material samskaras on our chitta. We can understand this with the help of an example also. You can see in our scriptures it is said that the conditioned living soul has only two positions. So if this is Krishna consciousness, if that soul is situated on the level of Krishna consciousness, and if I drop this, it will come down. So either the jiva is in Krishna consciousness, or either he is in Maya. There is no resting place in between. Right? So if we are not endeavoring in bhakti constantly, so that means we are engaged in material activities, and that would leave a material impression on our chitta, samskara on our chitta. And then it will just project the material thoughts and feelings that we have perceived onto the mind. And in general, people don't read scriptures, so the intellect is not very strong. So, and then the intellect is not very strong, then that false ego, that ahankara, gives the agency to act, and then the person forcefully has to act in an unfavorable way, or in a way which is not favorable to bhakti. So when we engage in devotional activities, in devotional practice on like auspicious days like Ekadashi, so it also leaves a very good spiritual impression on our chitta, right? So due to that reason, that day, like we are like very enthusiastic, we are very motivated. There is always like a motivation to engage in more services. So that is very good. But now, if we don't continue it, so that means over a period of time, those material samskaras will collect over in the chitta, and they will subdue the spiritual impressions which I've just got, like by performing devotional activities. And that's why it forces us to be back on our old bad habits. So all the hard work that we have done, like during the Kartik or maybe on any other day, right? It is not wasted, it is not futile, because Krishna says that Nehavi karma nashosti pratyavayona vidyate swalpam apiyasya dharmasya trayato bhatavya. So swalpam apiyasya dharmasya, if very little act, even a very little act is done in devotional service to Krishna, then that is never futile, that is always there. But because now the chitta is overpowered by the material samskaras, it would not allow us to engage in devotional service. So that is why, if we understand this principle of human psychology, which is like this is based on our scriptures, so then we should understand that we have to engage more and more in devotional practices, because that will lead to more and more spiritual samskaras within our chitta. And then we will have those spiritual samskaras will be projected on that clear screen of manas, and then we will have the spiritual thoughts and spiritual feelings. Also, another example of this could be like whenever we wake up early in the morning and we do during the Brahma Muhurta, and we do Mangala Arati, maybe at home or maybe at temple, and then we also complete our rounds like during the Brahma Muhurat time, and like we do all the morning program as given to us by Srila Prabhupada. Then we see the whole day, right? We have a very good consciousness. The mind will not go towards the material objects, because that is given by a pure devotee, so it has like a lot of potency, so it leaves a very strong impression on the chitta. So now we have worked so hard by waking up early in the video, or maybe during the winter time if somebody is doing it, but by not endeavoring, that all the hard work that we have done that is gone in vain. So that's why, like, it's very important that we engage ourselves continuously, that we endeavor we endeavor continuously in devotional practices, just like Mother Yashoda, with fixed determination. Otherwise, our bhakti graph will be like that sine wave, up, down, up, down. It should be like this, like going up, always, making progressing, always advancing. But if we don't do like that, it will always be like this only. That is why there is like a general question that comes from the devotees as well, that we have been practicing bhakti from such a long time, but still the anarthas are still there. That the kind of transformation like that we hear about in the shastras, like that we expect, that transformation of heart is not coming, right? Because on this path and on any other, if you want to succeed materially as well, right, a constant endeavor is required. Maybe I'm not sure if you have you any one of you have read that book Atomic Habits? It's a very good book. I think every devotee should read it. So that book talks about like how we can develop good habits, like by just adopting like a very small habit and then continuing it for a long period of time. Then we will perfect it, and then we will also see the result. The only problem is the human, as a human, we have a tendency to see the results like very quickly. But there is always a threshold involved after which the results are seen. And as a conditioned soul, we don't have that kind of a patience. But that book, it gives a very good example. So it says someone trying to break a stone. So he is hammering very hard, very hard. So maybe 40, 50 times he would have strike, but there is not even a single crack visible on that stone, right? So in the 50 strikes, nothing has happened, and just on the 51st, there is a crack. So this does not mean that 51st stroke has done the magic. The work has been done by those 50 strokes in the past as well, right? So that's why a constant endeavor is required in bhakti, and if we don't do that, our graph in bhakti will be like this. So this is the importance of continuing the endeavor on the spiritual path. So next, the thing I want to discuss is how part. This is why part, and the next part is how we can do that. So there is a very nice conversation between Yajnavalkya Rishi and his wife Maitreyi in Brihad Aranakya Upanishad. So Yajnavalkya Rishi is he's a very great Rishi. He has two wives, Katyayani and Maitreyi. So one day, Yajnavalkya Rishi tells his wife Maitreyi that Maitreyi, I want to give up this householder life, and now I want to accept the fourth order of Varnashram system, which is sannyas. And before leaving, I want to divide my property, my wealth between you and Katyayani, so that in my absence, both of you can live comfortably. So to this, Maitreyi asks a question to Yajnavalkya Rishi. So she asks that, my dear husband, so once you leave, I will be left with this whole wealth of this earth. So can I become immortal with this whole wealth? So by immortal, she is actually, the inner meaning is can she get permanent happiness from this whole wealth which is present on the earth? So when she asked this question, Yajnavalkya Rishi was very astonished, and he was not expecting this kind of a question from his wife Maitreyi. She was a very, very intelligent philosopher, intelligent woman, whose name is mentioned in the Upanishads. So he was very happy when by hearing this question. So he said, my dear wife Maitreyi, This is a very good question, very intelligent question that you have asked. But the answer to this is you cannot be happy. Like, even if you get all the wealth present on this earth, you cannot get permanent happiness from that. And now, what he says, Yagyavalkya Rishi, what he says is very, very important. In just one line, he gives the essence of all the scriptures, and that contains Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana. And also, that one line, that the reply, that the answer that he gives to Maitreyi, it also contains the way we should perform our sadhana. So he says, you can repeat after me, so very small verse. Atma Vare, Drashtavya, Shrotavyo, Mantavyo, Nidhidhyasitavyo, Maitreyi. Let's chant this once again. Atma Va Are, Drashtavyo, Shrotavyo, Mantavyo, Nidhidhyasitavyo, Maitreyi. So he says, my dear Maitreyi, Atma Vare Drashtavya. The self has to be seen. The self has to be seen, has to be directly realized. So Yagyavalkya Rishi, he is situated on the platform of Brahman realization. So that's why he's saying self has to be realized. But if we translate this verse in the context of bhakti, then this means this Atma Vare Drashtavya. Drashtavya means to see. Drashta, to see. So this would mean in the context of bhakti that the self indeed has to be realized as the eternal servant of Krishna. And now this includes everything. So realizing our constitutional position, like who we are. So Sanatana Goswami asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he asked Kayami, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please tell me that who I am. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the answer. He says, Jivera Swarupa Hai Krishnera Nityadas. That, O Sanatan, the constitutional position of the living entity, that he is the eternal servant of Lord Krishna. This is his constitutional position, and this is his Swarupa. So we learn from Bhagavad Gita, as Krishna says to Arjun, that we are not this body, we are within this body, we are actually soul or Atma, and that Atma is part and parcel of the super soul, which is Shri Krishna. So Atma Vare Drashtavya means that he's saying that Maitreyi, my dear wife, indeed the self has to be realized or has to be seen as the eternal servant of Krishna, and this also means that we have to realize the position of Lord Krishna. We have to get the direct realization of the Supreme Lord, because until we have a realization, it is not possible to continue something. We engage in some activity only when we have faith. Faith comes from understanding, right? And then when with faith and understanding someone engages in some activity, it leads to realization. So knowledge has two aspects to it. One is theoretical, which is called as jnana, just to understand, and one is the realization, to realize that knowledge, which is called as vijnana. So until we get some realization, it is not possible to continue the endeavor on the path of bhakti. Or the same is true for like the material success and material endeavors as well. So now, or I would like to give one example as well. So when I was a bachelor and I used to read Prabhupada books, Srila Prabhupada, specifically for Grihastha Ashrama, he would mention that once someone enters into a Grihastha Ashrama, then they would need a very nice apartment. They also need like a social life, and there is a struggle in the life. So when I used to read it, I would understand that, right? But I got the realization only when I entered the Krishna, right? So now that knowledge is complete. So similarly, although we read scriptures, right? So that theoretical understanding is there, but we need to get realizations as well. And this is what Yajnavalkya Rishi is telling his wife as well, that Maitreyi, the self has to be realized, Shri Bhagavan has to be realized, and we need to have the direct realization of Shri Bhagavan. So this is the Prayojan, right? So there are three things, like in the scriptures, we want to categorize, like in all the scriptures, there are only three things which are mentioned: Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana. So Sambandha means like who we are, what is our constitutional position, who is the absolute truth, and what is our relationship with the absolute truth. So this is called as Sambandha. And then Prayojana, as the scripture says, is Krishna Prem. Attaining the love of God is the Prayojana, is the goal. And the means to achieve that goal, that sadhana, it is called as Abhideya. So now, okay, we understand that we need to realize that absolute truth, Shri Bhagavan, Shri Krishna, but how to do this? How we can get the realization? So then he says, Shrotavyo, Mantavyo, Nididhyasitavya Maitreyi. So first thing is, the foremost is Shrotavya. So Shrotavya means Shravanam, to hear. Srila Jiva Goswami, in his Bhakti Sandarbha, he explains the meaning of Shravanam. He says, Tach Nam Rupa Guna Lila Maya Shabda Nam Shrotra Sparshaha. So when the words describing the name, Nama, Rupa, the form, the Lila, the divine pastimes, and the Guna, the qualities of the Lord. So when the words describing the Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila, the name, form, the divine pastimes, and the qualities of the Lord, they come in contact of the ear, so that is called as Shravana. So it is very important that we regularly, without fail, we should do Shravanam, and in Shravanam we should hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and other like scriptures which are like which actually helps us to advance in bhakti. And the foremost is Srimad Bhagavatam. Today, if we are struggling in bhakti, it is because the only reason, if you like reflect on it, the only reason is our Shravanam is not strong. I'll tell you like how like this is like kind of a sadhana paddhiti, like the way of doing sadhana. First step is like Shravanam. So it's very important, like Srimad Bhagavatam stress so much on hearing. So we can see like in different contexts in Srimad Bhagavatam, someone is speaking Krishna Katha and somebody is hearing, right? So we should, the first point to remember in this is that we should hear Krishna Katha as like mentioned by Jiva Goswami. So only that Katha which contains the Nam Rup Guna Lila of the Lord. Only that would constitute to be the proper Shravana. The second thing is we should hear or do Shravanam from an Uttam Adhikari. It is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam that the pure devotees of the Lord, like the pure devotees of the Lord, they always carry the lotus feet of the Lord within their heart. So when they speak Krishna Katha, the air which comes out from their mouth, it carries the aroma of the lotus feet of the Lord. And any conditioned soul who comes in contact of that transcendental air coming from the mouth of a pure devotee, he at once realizes his constitutional position and he gets a direct realization that I am the eternal servant of Krishna and I need to perform devotional service. This is so powerful. So, who is an Uttam Adhikari? It is mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu by Rupa Goswami, is one who is Shastra Nipuna, who is very expert in all the scriptures. So, if any obstacle comes in the way of his bhakti, he is very intelligent enough to to get some references from the Shastra and get out some solution. And his Shraddha is very firm, unshakable. So that kind of a person we should hear from. I remember when I came to Krishna consciousness, we have to go to the temple with a pen drive to get the lectures. But these days, it's a good thing and a bad thing as well. There are so many lectures available, like on YouTube and on other social media platforms. So we should not hear everyone, right? I'm not being here it may sound like narrow-minded, but it's not narrow-minded. You can hear from different sources, but the person has to be Uttam Adhikari. Because if we don't hear from an Uttam Adhikari, then that would be difficult to apply those principles in our lives. So right now, just like I am speaking, right? So I am just speaking as a service for my own purification, like I am speaking. So which is good because we are running a community here. But in general, in your personal sadhanas, you should hear from an Uttam Adhikari. This is Shravana. And in different chapters in Srimad Bhagavatam also, like the glories of Shravanam has been mentioned. I want to read one verse where the glories of hearing about the form of the Lord is mentioned. It is said, Ye tu tvadiya charanam bhuj kosha gandham jighranti karna vivirai shrutivat nitam bhaktya grihit charanaha paraya cha tesham na paishinat hridayam buruhat swapunsam. So it is said that, O Master, there are those who through the apertures of their ears smell the fragrance emitted from the whirl of your lotus feet, carried by the wind of the Shrutis. You are never separated from the lotus heart of them, your own people, because your feet are bound by the ropes of their supreme devotion. So it's a very nice verse. It says that Jighranti karna vivirai shruti vatanita. So it says that, O Master, those devotees who are engaged in hearing about your form, and he gives an analogy that the vibration which is coming, that the sound vibration, it is carried away by the wind of Shrutis, and then the person, the devotee, is Jighranti karna vivire. Through the apertures of the ears, he is smelling. He's smelling that aroma which is coming. For such devotees, bhaktya grihit charana paraya chatesham, that such devotees, they bind your lotus feet and you never ever separate from the lotus heart of theirs. So one may ask that the function of the ear is to hear, right? So how could they smell from their ears? So it is like Jiva Goswami explains. So he says, just like when we smell a fragrance, then that means we are actually relishing it. We are getting a direct realization of that aroma. So here, Jighranti karna vivire shruti vata nitam, that they are through the apertures of their ears, they smell the aroma. It means that they are actually getting the direct experience, the direct realization of your form. And when they hear the katha, your form just appears like within their heart. So this is like just one example, like the glories of hearing about the form of the Lord. Similarly, there are like many verses which talks about hearing the name of the Lord or hearing the qualities of the Lord. It's very important to hear about the qualities of the Lord, like how he reciprocates with his devotees. If we want to love someone, it's very important for us to understand his qualities, right? If we don't know like how that person is, there is no question of developing love for that person. So that's why Shravanam is very, very important, right? It is even more important than chanting. Yes, it is even more important than chanting. If your Shravanam is right, then your chanting will automatically become attentive. You can try this. There is one sannyasi in ISKCON, and like I have done like a lot of association of him, and recently like GBC has given him the permission to give diksha as well. So in one of the videos I was seeing, like one of his disciples was asking him, Maharaj, like we get very little association of yours, right? So whenever we get your association, like what service we could do to you, which could please you. So he said, if you want to do any service to me, then please hear attentively whenever whatever I speak. So it's very important that we do quality Shravanam, right? It should only come from the mouth of an Uttam Adhikari, right? Hearing from limited sources, right? So this is called as Shravanam, the first part, just hearing, right? Now the second part, which Yajnavalkya Rishi says, he says Mantavya, right? I hope you remember Shrotavyo, Mantavyo, Nididhyasitavyo, Maitri. So now this is the part which, like in general, like most of the devotees, or most of the sadhakas that they don't do, and that is we have heard something, not logically reflecting on it, trying to understand it, raising doubts, raising questions, not to refute what is being said, but to understand it. And that reasoning should be consistent and in line with the conclusion of the Shastras. It is very important that we do, this is called as mananam, that after hearing, that we reflect upon that thing. And reflection means understanding, maybe try to make notes, right? And raise questions. In our Shastras, nothing is, and this is not just allowed, but this is recommended. It is never recommended in our Shastras to accept anything blindly. So we should use the logical reasoning to understand what is being said. There is one pastime in the Mahatmya of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Padma Puran, where have you heard about this Gokarna and Dhundhikari? Have you heard about it? Yeah. So there was a Brahmana, his name was Atmadev, and his wife Dhundhuli. So they were like the Brahmana, he was like a very nice, very sober, following all the rules and regulations of the Brahmanical ashram. But his wife, she was like completely opposite. So like they were very opulent and like they have everything. But one thing which they were lacking was like they wanted to have a child, but they could not have. So Atmadev Brahmana, like he was in too much anxiety and or too much stress that they could not have like a baby. So one day he decided that he will end up his life, because he thought like what is the use of like being in the Grihastha ashrama if there is no child. So as like he was determined to give up his life, he met a sadhu, and the sadhu asked him like why you want to give up your life. So he explained all the situation. That sadhu was he was a siddha. So with his mystic power, he could understand that at least in this lifetime, Atmadev cannot have a baby. So he told him that Atmadev, I could see that at least in this lifetime, there is no possibility for you to have a baby. But Atmadev, he was in so much illusion, so this is called as moha, when a person thinks that I cannot live without this thing. So he said that, "O sadhu, my heart is not able to accept your instruction." So when someone is in an illusion, they're not able to accept any good advice from devotees or from others. So seeing that he's so adamant, and Sadhu was like very merciful, so he gave him one fruit, and he said that you give this fruit to your wife, she'll eat it, and then you'll have a very nice devotee son. So Atmadev was very happy. He returned home and he gave the fruit to his wife Dunduli. But Dunduli, because of like kind of an opposite nature, I don't have the exact word for it, but you can understand. So she started thinking that I will have like I have to go through a lot of suffering and a lot of like pain during the delivery. And it is also mentioned that she was thinking that what if like someone like Shukadev Goswami comes in my womb and he does not want to come out. So she was thinking like this. So then like she has her sister who was also like Durjana. So she told her that what you do is, Dunduli, that you give this fruit to the cow to eat, and anyhow I am expecting a baby, and you just only act that you are pregnant, and once I deliver, I give the baby to you, and then you can give that baby to your husband Atmadev. So this was the deal that they did. So Dunduli gave that fruit to the cow, and she acted like she is expecting, and when like her sister, she delivered the baby, she gave the baby to Dunduli, and then Dunduli gave the baby to Atmadev. So because the mother's name was Dunduli, so they kept the name of the baby as Dhundakari. And because that cow has eaten that fruit given by the sadhu, the cow also delivered baby, and then the baby was a complete human. He was very beautiful, and his ears were like that of a cow. So Atmadev named him as Gokarna, one whose ears, Karna means ears, so one whose ears are like that of a cow. So all the brahmanas like in the community, like they became very happy, like they started glorifying Atmadev. That you just see the person who's not able to conceive, now in his house even the cow is also conceiving, and what a beautiful like human being the cow has given birth to. So Gokarna was a very nice devotee, and on the contrary, Dundakari was he was very sinful. So because he was a devotee, so Gokarna he was always engaged in spiritual activities, whereas Dundakari was always busy inflicting violence on others and troubling his parents. So Gokarna would give like very nice instructions to his father that now you should renounce the householder life. And with his instructions, Atmadev, and also he got too much he got too much fed up from his other son Dundakari, that he gave up the householder life and he went to some Tirtha to do his bhajan. And then here Dundakari, he started beating his mother and would ask him to give me money, and he would spend all the money on the prostitutes. And one day he even brought all the prostitutes in his house. So in this way, all the money which was there in their house, that was like finished. And Dundakari, like he started beating his mother that I need more money. So like being fed up of like his son Dundakari, her mother also gave up her life. So now, because there was no money in the house, so Dundakari would go and he would he would steal, or he would like snatch like money from someone to satisfy those prostitutes. So one day, those prostitutes thought that this Dhundakari, he is engaged in all the sinful acts, and very soon he will be caught and punished by the king, and all his wealth that he has collected, that will also be gone. So they decided that we will murder him. So one night when Dhundakari was sleeping, they tied him up with the bed and they put the burning coal in his mouth, and he died a very painful death. So because of that, he became a ghost and like wandering here and there, like so that someone could help him like liberate from this yoni of the ghost. So he knew that the one person who could help him is his brother Gokarna. So in that ghost body, he just went to his brother Gokarna and he said that, dear brother, like so initially Gokarna could not recognize him. He said like, who are you? He said that I'm your brother, and due to my sinful activities, I have now got this yoni of the ghost, and it is you only who can liberate me from this. So Gokarna was very surprised. So he said that I have done your Shraddha in Gaya. So there is no possibility like that, that you don't get liberation. But this was like what it is. So Gokarna, he discussed this like with all the devotees nearby, that what he could do to liberate his brother. So but nobody could find like any solution. And then in the end, Gokarna prayed to sun god that you give us the solution for this. Then there was an Akashavani, like where the sun god like replied them that you do Srimad Bhagavatam Katha, and then it will liberate your brother. So then they did all the arrangements for like 7 days Srimad Bhagavatam Katha, and Gokarna became the speaker, and all the like the people in the village like they sat and they become the audience. And Dhundakari, because like he was a ghost, so he took shelter of a bamboo stick. So every day like he would hear katha, and as if you have seen the bamboo stick, you would have seen like the bamboo stick has got some parts, like there are some lines, like some joints. It's not a joint, but exactly, but there are like some lines. So every day, so each joint would burst like that. And on the 7th day, like everyone saw that from that bamboo tree, or from that bamboo stick, like there is a very emanating like personality, like a personality emanating from that bamboo stick, like who is like bluish in color, having 4 hands, like very beautiful. And then that personality was none other than Dhundakari, and he got liberated from the yoni of the ghost, and he like got the spiritual body. So everyone like got amazed to see this. And then there is a chariot which came from the spiritual world with the associates of the Lord to take Dhundakari back home, back to Godhead. So on this, like everyone became very happy. But Gokarna like paid his obeisances to the associates of the Lord, and he asked him one question, that like he asked like everyone like in this katha, like everyone has heard this katha like very attentively, but why is it that only one chariot has come like just to take only Dhundakari? So to this the associates of the Lord, like they replied that although everyone has heard the katha, but the kind of mananam that Dhundakari has done, others have not done like that. So due to the difference in their quality of hearing, there is a difference in the result. So then the associates of the Lord, they asked Gokarna that Gokarnji, that you should not feel disappointed. You do the katha again, and definitely next time like the chariot will come for everyone like who will be the audience and like listening the katha. So because of the difference in the mananam, in the reflection, and in the nididhyasanam. So in this one, mananam means to reflect so that we develop that understanding. And the next step is nididhyasanam, to become completely absorbed into that. Only then we can have that Atma Varidrashta. Only then we can have that realization, that direct realization of that absolute truth, Sri Krishna. And once the realization is there, then the endeavor will become continuous. So this is what, like this is mentioned in the Padma Purana, in the Mahatmya of Srimad Bhagavatam, the story is mentioned. So because of the difference in the Mananam and the Nididhyasanam, that there is the difference in the result. So it's very important that we raise valid questions, we raise doubts, should not accept anything blindly. We can see this from Bhagavad Gita as well, when Krishna says to Arjun, that Arjun, I gave this transcendental knowledge to the sun god Vivashwan. Immediately Arjun puts up a question that Krishna, both of us are like almost of the same age. How am I to believe that, or how am I to understand that you gave this knowledge to sun god? So like that. So it's very important that after hearing that we do mananam, we raise questions, we raise doubts, we develop complete understanding. Even if there is like a small doubt, we can never attain perfection. Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita, Sanshayatma Vinashyati. If we have a tinge of doubt in our practice or like whatever we do, we cannot achieve perfection in that. So this is mananam. And then nididhyasanam. So nididhyasanam means complete absorption, deep meditation, and also our practice. So once we hear from the Shastras, we read the Shastras as well, then we clarify our doubts, develop the full understanding of the subject, and then now the next step is to bring it into the practice. Nididhyasanam, complete absorption. And a very good example is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. I think we are Prabhu, can I take 5 minutes? Is it okay? Yeah. So it's a very good example of like how we should perform our practice. So we can understand this from the life of Mother Yashoda. So it is mentioned in 9th chapter, in the 3rd and the 4th verse, like how Mother Yashoda is engaged in churning the butter, how she is engaged in serving Lord Krishna. So it is mentioned that Yani Yani hai Gitani tadabal charitani cha dadhi nirmanthane kale smaranti tani agayat. So Yani Yani hai Gitani. So as she is like churning the butter, so obviously her body is engaged in serving the Lord. And then from the tongue, Yani Yani hai Gitani, that she is like singing the childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna. So the tongue is also engaged. And smaranti, and with the mind, like she is remembering those pastimes. So with body, mind and words, she is fully engaged in serving Krishna. This is called as nididhyasana, complete absorption. So when Krishna comes, like when he wakes up and then when he comes, that mother, I want to drink your milk. Mother Yashoda is in that state of samadhi that she's not able to realize that Krishna is there. So that's why like Krishna has to stop that that the process of churning butter by he took hold of that rod, and once that he hold the rod, there was a break applied to it, and then Mother Yashoda got the external like consciousness, and then she realized, oh, Krishna is there. So that kind of absorption, which is called as nididhyasanam, like should be there. And exactly in the next verse, it is mentioned, Shukadeva Goswami mentions the beauty of Mother Yashoda. So he says, Shamam vas prithu katitate vibhrati sutra nabdham putra sneha snutam kuch yugam jatakam pamcha subra. So Mother Yashoda, she woke up early in the morning, and then Shamam Vasaha, she wore a very beautiful sari, a silk sari, a fresh sari, Shamam vas prithu kati, and she has a very thin waist and heavy hips. And because she has to churn the butter, so Vibhrati Sutranatha. So she put a very nice like thread around her waist so that her lehenga does not go down. And Putra Sneha Snutam Kuchayugam Jata Kampam cha Subru. So she is the epitome of parental love for Krishna, and because of her love, as she is remembering Krishna, there is milk like coming out from her breasts. Putra Sneha Snutam Kuchayugam Jata Kampam cha Subru. And her whole body is like trembling in Ashta Sattvic Vikaras. And then he says, Rajva Karsh Bhuj Chalat Kankano Kundalecha. And then she is like moving the rope like this, and due to her moving, like there is a parishrama, like the effort, like a lot of effort she is putting into like moving the rod for churning the butter, Rajva Karsh. And there are very beautiful like bangles that she is wearing, and as she is moving her arms, those bangles like are making a very beautiful sound. And then he says, because of that effort, the drops of sweat are like coming from her head, from her forehead, and it is looking very beautiful. They are looking like the pearls like coming from the head of Mother Yashoda. And the Malati hairs, the very beautiful Malati hairs that she is wearing in her hair, they are falling on her floor, on her foot. So this is the way like Shukdev Goswami describes like Krishna Katha. So like I have explained this in a very gross way, but when you will hear it from an Uttam Adhikari, you will see like this, like Mother Yashoda, like how Mother Yashoda is wearing a very beautiful sari and how she is like churning butter. And now this is called as Nididhyasanam, complete absorption. This becomes the subject of our chanting. So there is a question, right, a common question among devotees, that our chanting is not attentive, right? So how it can be attentive, right? The mind needs some subject. We need to trap the mind into some subject, and this subject is the name, Rupa, Gun and Lila of the Lord. So we can always like think about this, like how Mother Yashoda is churning butter while we're chanting. This is Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that if someone wants to become fully Krishna conscious, he should meditate on these features of Mother Yashoda. Similarly, there are many similar things which are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we should hear them very nicely from an Uttam Adhikari, and then we should do the proper mananam, should reflect on it, raise doubts, raise questions, and get the complete understanding, and then the complete absorption. So once that is there, I think that is the only way that we can continue our endeavor on this path of devotional service. Otherwise, like the graph of bhakti will be that sinusoidal wave, like up, down, like that. So with this, I will end today's talk. Thank you so much for patiently listening, and my apologies, it took me like 15 minutes more to finish this. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So yeah, if there are any questions, yeah.
First of all, absolutely mind-blowing class, so thank you very much. My question is, so I was listening to Chaitanya Charaguru on his beginning of class on Nectar Instruction, text 5, and he mentioned that being a Kanishta Adhikari, we can't recognize who an Uttama Adhikari is. So, based on that, like, how can we recognize an Uttama Adhikari, and how do we know who to hear from and who to not hear from?
So there are like a definition is given in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami, who is an Uttama Adhikari. I'll read that verse for you. So Srila Rupa Goswami says, Shastre yuktau cha nipunaha sarvatha drid nishchaya praud shraddho dhikari yah Sa bhakta uttamo mata. So Rupa Goswami says, as per his opinion, Shastre yukto cha nipuna, who is very expert, like he has like understood, he has learned the Shastras from his guru. Like in the entirety, he understands the conclusion of the Shastras. He's very expert. And Sarvata Dhrida Nishchaya. His Shraddha, his faith is very strong. He's fully determined. His Shraddha is unshakable. And then, this is Prod Shraddhodikari, sir. Dhrida Nishchaya is very determined. I'll read the translation. The Uttama Adhikari is defined as follows: the person who is skillful in scripture and logic, completely firm in his belief. So he is not like, today is listening to someone and tomorrow is listening to other, and now his belief, his faith changes. No, it is not like that. He's completely firm in his belief with deep faith, like very, very strong, unshakable Shraddha, is considered qualified as Uttama Adhikari. So these are the characteristics. And as you said, like we can pray to Krishna, like Krishna, because the thing is, it's not possible that simply by like reading books we can understand this. We need a teacher, for sure. We need a teacher, and we can pray to Krishna. So Krishna will definitely like make an arrangement. Actually, I don't have like time left, because the last point I want to do is like, this is the process. Like we understood why and how, right? But the question is, how do we get the Shakti to this Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasana? So that is by Vandanam. That we have to pray. It's very important that we include this as part of our daily sadhana, that we read the bhajans of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Narottam Das Thakur. Prarthana and Prem Bhakti Chandrika. These are must. And there are like four books, like like song books written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. There is Sharnagati, there is Geet Mala, and there is two more. There are very, very beautiful bhajans, all in Bengali, and the essence of the scriptures. So the prayer which will come out from our heart, that is not very potent to attract the mercy of Krishna. But those prayers are being sung by the pure devotees. So it has the full potency to attract Krishna. So when we sing those prayers, so I generally what I do is, like I take one prayer, like I sing it continuously, like after finishing my sadhana, like for like maybe a week or maybe a month also, until I understand that, then move on to the next, and move on to the next. So like that, it's very important.
And then to read the first form again, please.
Sorry.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prayers.
Yeah, Sharnagati. Yeah, and Narottam Das Thakur's Prarthana and Prem Bhakti Chandrika. And Srila Prabhupada has said that like the books are the basis. So it's very important that we all read books. We cannot say that I'm not a book reader, or like I'm not a kind of a person who is into reading. No, it cannot be accepted. You can see like when we were kids, and especially in mathematics, right? Whenever you have to solve a problem, like we get a new chapter, it's a probability. Initially we don't have any understanding of the chapter, and everything looks very difficult, and there is no motivation to study mathematics. But once we understand the concept and we start solving problems, then step by step, as you keep on solving the problem, there's a motivation to solve the next problem, So Shastras are like that. So this is the foundation. That's why Prabhupada said books are the basis. So if the foundation is not strong, so whatever is built on top of the weak foundation, it will be shaky. So we'll all have to make an endeavor. Srila Prabhupada has worked so hard, like tirelessly. As I was saying, we understand, like how difficult it could be for Srila Prabhupada, but we cannot realize it until we get into that age of our 60s and then waking up during the night and then writing books, translating books of the acharyas. It's not an easy task. There are very few who are able to translate this full Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada has done it. He translated full Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. He has been so merciful that he wrote Krishna book to give us the direct experience of Sri Krishna. So it's very important, and it is our responsibility that we read Srila Prabhupada books. Srila Prabhupada, I think, will be much more happy if we read his books and understand it and apply in our lives. I think that would be the best offering to Srila Prabhupada. But this process has to be followed. Like Shrotavya could mean hearing as well and also reading, right? But please do this mantavya. Otherwise the Shravanam is not complete if we don't follow this Mananam and Nididhyasana. Then you will realize that automatically your chanting will improve. Krishna consciousness means thinking of Krishna, right? So you are chanting, but you don't know anything about the name, root and qualities of the Lord. Then what are you going to think, right? The mind is going to wander to other subjects. And that's how you get realizations. And those realizations actually carry us forward on this path. Otherwise, who can think of waking up early at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. for the rest of their lives? It's not possible. It is not possible. Some realization has to be there. Any other question anyone has? Good then we can end the class here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Krishna Prabhu ki